Yeah.
All right. So we're in church and we're next to the font, and there's been some activity here as you're both working in and around these really beautiful angels, and they have some mysteries associated with them, where they've come from, but also some material challenges too. And just to start, would you like to tell me your names, who you work for, the kinds of work that you tend to do?
So I'm Pablo. I work for Taylor Pierce, which is a conservation company, conservation and restoration company, and I've been working in, I would call it built heritage conservation and sculpture conservation for the last 25 years. And you wanted to know what we're doing here? It's a small project, removing some wall monuments from a bay at the south aisle of the church, where they are going to open up a doorway, which got bricked up at some point.
Yeah, in the 19th century.
Yeah, so that's being restored, the doorway's being restored, and the monuments have to be removed and put somewhere else. But at the same time, we're also removing, because we're here, we're removing a couple of small angel cherub marble sculptures from the north aisle, one of the bays here, and we are awaiting instruction on where to put them.
Okay.
Because they're a little bit low, they're under a window, and they should be up high really somewhere.
So step one, to learn about them and to get them off the wall as carefully as we can. And then step two is to figure out where to place them, because those 5 monuments are moving from where the south door is going to be relocated in the church.
So two of them will replace the cherubs.
Yeah.
In that location. So the cherubs will go somewhere. Two similar sort of shaped ones from that bay are going here.
And we've got some drilling going on the other side of the building, so nice and loud. You're working on the other angel on the other side here, so you're working together in this little bay, in this niche. And I'd love to hear a bit more about you and about your work and how you got started.
Hi, my name's James. I also work for Taylor Pierce. I've been working as a conservator for about 19 years. Started off working as a wall painting conservator, then did architectural conservation, and with the company now we do a lot of sculpture conservation as well. I did a degree in conservation at Lincoln, and before that I did art foundation and relevant A-levels, and here I am.
So you're an artist, and you've been interested in color and in surfaces of different kinds for a long time, and you've been working in this area for over 20 years, and it sounds like together you have different paths, but you approach this from a very sort of similar point of view, which is really cool. Do you often work together? You know each other well? It's quite a small firm, right?
It's a small firm, and I guess we've both been there sort of 4 or 5 years. So but every project is very different.
Yeah.
But this kind of thing we've done before, and it's a challenge because you don't know how someone else has fixed it to the wall. So you've got to approach it a certain way to try and be sympathetic to the object and take care of it.
One of the things that's happened today is that as these 2 little cherubs with it's really beautiful with their locks of hair and their heads pressed together. One has eyes closed and the other eyes open, as far as I can tell, which is just extraordinary, especially in relation to a monument for someone who's died. But it's likely that they've been separated from that monument for quite a long time, so we don't know who is being remembered with these 2. And one of the things that's happened today is that you move through from the surface down to, we've got it down to the brick now, And you explained earlier that there are 2 pins that are holding them in, so you're about to investigate that a bit further. And very, very sadly, because this stuff is really delicate, and sometimes this does happen, and you also said that you can repair it, which is great news. The wings have come off, and they, at the moment, are resting on the ledge up here. And I'm just going to grab this very carefully without smashing it on the ground. Oh my goodness. And I'm curious what you think about these feathers, the kind of techniques, these little marks. They're fascinating.
I think one of the key things was how thin we found the marble to be, and to carve something so intricate on such a thin piece of marble takes a lot of skill and experience. We also noticed there are drill marks where they had marked out the feathers of the wings, and it's really beautiful.
Is that unusual, using these little drill marks to create these little details in the feathers?
I believe not. I think it's a technique that's still used now.
Oh wow.
It's to get the right depth.
Say a bit more. It's to get the right
to get
depth.
the right depth from so you would make one in clay probably, and then you would depth everything with almost like a pantography kind of tool. So you can transfer the design on your clay maquette onto a piece of marble, and you get the right depth. Get the right depth
I
for
see.
all of these bits, and then you can carve around everything.
And the layers of the feathers here are really beautiful. It's delicate. It has a
It's
gentleness to it,
Yeah,
much
yeah.
like the cheeks of the
It's
angels.
really light and beautifully
Yeah.
done. There's a lot of life in it.
And are you both sculptors yourselves? Do you work with material like this? Have you ever tried to carve marble before?
No, but I work in plaster.
Ah, okay, yeah. And so being able to have a sense of how tools work with materials, how to get certain effects of different layers and material.
We have to repair these things sometimes, and whether you do a little plastic repair in mortar or whether you're using resins and stuff, you have to learn how to carve and restore these things to try and get everything to match.
So what's the plan for repairing this? How are we going to get this wing back to where it needs to be eventually as part of this project when the angels are relocated?
I think there'll be a couple of new pins into the original marble, and to bridge the gap between across the broken sections, and then an adhesive.
Almost like staples.
Like staples?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Across the break.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and use do you use epoxy? Or?
Yeah, probably an epoxy resin
Yeah.
to stick them back together. And of course the staples will be on the back so they won't be visible.
Can you say that again? The
Yeah.
epoxy resin?
We call them cramps. They look like staples. So you drill a small hole in both pieces at the back. One here, for example, and a small channel to light in. And you do one here, probably 2 small ones to attach to the main body, and then glue those in. But along the actual break surface, you would probably put some epoxy resin on that surface, and so and stick them together.
Wow. This is a beautiful thing in the context of the whole project that St James's is undertaking at the moment with the south door, and then in this part of the year the organ as well, which is a very different kind of project. You said that this is, it's small, it's a detail in relation to the whole thing, and yet it takes time, it takes care, every moment, every consideration that you're making about the technique. The idea is that these are relocated and that they will last. They will be a part of the church's interior for many generations.
So,
And these are in marble, both of them. And just in front of us is a marble font, which was carved by Grinling Gibbons. It's part of the original fabric of the church. It's from many, many, many generations ago. And I'm curious about what you think about the font, especially that, William Blake was baptized here and all that. What do you reckon?
it's a piece of carving. It's beautiful. There's stories that we can pick up from, and to know that famous artists and people were baptized there. It's a link to that part of history. It's fantastic.
And especially as an artist yourself, you did an art foundation, and that sense of glowing color and the way that poetry and paint work together in William Blake. Have you got a favorite?
Tiger, Burning Bright. I mean, it's a classic, but
It's
great.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the font here, it's filled with symbolism, and it starts with Adam and Eve and the tree of life, quite unusually. And so the relationship between like earth and water and the spirit and all of these stories. I mean, the Noah's Ark image on this font is so good, and it's carved in such a thin way, building itself up in layers with the rays of the sun. What do you think about doing your work only a couple of feet away from Grinling Gibbon's font?
It's easy to get complacent when you're working in churches and buildings like this all the time, but actually you do find time in the day to stop and look and appreciate the amazing craftsmanship and artistry all around you in a place like this. And whether the font is a tour de force, there's no doubt about it, but I can see beauty in pretty much every carved object here. So I feel very lucky to do what I do.
Yeah, and we're really glad that you're here. There are memorials and monuments just in this little corner from the 20th century, this really powerful war memorial from the First World War, and also a description of Robert Bennett and Thomas Middlemiss, who were choristers of the church who died in the Second World War, and a very deep and profound story of someone named Charles Murray and his wife Edith. You've probably read this. So they were in the rectory just there when the church and this site was bombed in 1940, and they died. And so you have many memories of life and death of William Blake and many, many other babies in and around this font, these tiny little angels awake and asleep, experiencing different kinds of emotions in stone. Mm-hmm. And then these memorials, we find beauty as well as finding the richness of every life and infinite dignity and what love itself means for people of all faiths and none, and you get to be right up close with it and figuring out what to do. What are you looking forward to most about this project? It's relatively small. You won't be here for years. You won't be completely redoing everything, but you get up close and personal with all of these different things. What's most satisfying or most interesting for you about this project?
I've enjoyed so far sort of working out how artisans have worked in the past, and when we're deconstructing the monuments, then we can appreciate that in a different way, and that's a privilege. That's cool. What do you think?
It's always a challenge, and nice to handle things that people have made and gone to the great effort to make beautiful and fit and try and do it some justice. It gives you a sense of pride every day. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you need?
Just honoring the past and interacting with beautiful things and doing so with great care. I better let you get back to work. But before I go, and thank you for being patient with the questions and the conversation, is there anything else that you wanna share? Anything else that's happening just at the moment or that's on your mind that you'd like to think about or say?
Nothing as such. I'm quite concerned about what's going on behind this sculpture, and when I find out that, I'll be much more relaxed.
I better leave you to it. What do you think?
I'd like to get it out today, but not sure.
Well, let's see what's possible. Thank you both so much.
Okay.
It's really great to hear from you. Thanks for your time.